I need to unmute. Welcome, everyone. The Budget and Finance Committee meeting will limit physical access in the meeting room due to current limitations on public gatherings. Accommodations have been made to ensure that the public is able to participate in the meeting. The public may participate in the following ways: watch the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website, watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook and YouTube accounts, and call in to the conference meeting at 1-312-626-6799. Meeting ID is 924-2258-3959. Passcode is 176440. Callers will be unmuted and given an opportunity to comment during the meeting at specific times. Limited viewing will be available in the lobby of City Hall to watch the live video and make public comments. The public may email comments and questions prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to recorder at franklintn.gov to be read aloud. Live comments and those submitted by email will be limited to 2 minutes. City YouTube is www.youtube.com/user/City of Franklin. And the city's Facebook is www.facebook.com/City of Franklin. And the website is www.franklintn.gov/Franklin TV. We'll call the meeting to order with a roll call vote. Do you see everyone in here? Is everyone online?
Yeah, you'll have to say their names individually. You'll need to say their names individually, please.
Okay, Alderman Peterson, are you present?
Present.
Alderman Speedy, are you present?
Present.
And the chair is present. The meeting is now called to order. First item on the agenda is consideration of Resolution 2020-247, a resolution declaring that the Budget and Finance Committee shall meet on December the 3rd, 2020 and conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of the members physically present in the same location because it is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. I will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's do a roll call vote, voice vote. Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion passes. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, and honor one of our aldermen who passed away last weekend, Pearl Bransford, and I'm going to give the other 2 committee members a chance to say a few words if they would like. I know I served with Pearl for 13 years and certainly was a pleasure and a delight to serve with her, a person whose integrity and honesty and dependability you could always count on. So Pearl will be sadly missed here at City Hall and by the people that she represents. And there's not many words that you can say to keep on saying without repeating yourself. So I'm going to open that up and just say Alderman Speedy or Alderman Peterson, do either one of you, and I think the mayor has something he'd like to say, just a few words also. Alderman Speedy, do you have anything you would like to add?
Sure, absolutely. I first really got to meet Pearl on the campaign trail, and she was gracious enough to even invite me into her home and sit down and talk to me for about 15 minutes. but always welcomed me as the newcomer on the board, and got to know her a little bit through the Sister Cities program. My middle daughter, we actually hosted the German student in February, but her trip to Germany in May and June got delayed. But it's good to get to see Pearl outside of just the BOMA environment, and she'll be missed.
Alderman Peterson.
The first thing I said was she will definitely be missed. Nobody like her. She was just one of a kind, but had meant so much to us here at the City of Franklin.
And Mayor Moore, I understand you are traveling, but you may want to add a few words also.
Well, I'd love the opportunity, Chairman Barnhill, and thanks for allowing me to do that and be part of the committee meeting today. Today we have a chair at the Budget and Finance Committee, and that chair has been filled for a number of years by Pearl Bransford, who recently passed. And I think we all have to attribute a lot of the financial success we've had to the city for Pearl's steady hand and calmness moving forward with so much that we've done in budget and finance and as far as the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I've been reflecting a lot about Pearl, and some of that I look forward to sharing at the board meeting next week. But one of the things that I've kind of raised the issue in my mind, why in the world did they name Pearl Pearl? And just reflecting back on what a pearl is a gemstone. Some of them are quite rare. They're lustrous, and also not only being lustrous, but they're a very hard substance. I think Pearl had all those qualities, but at the same time, she was able to approach things in a balanced fashion, listen to other aldermen, and that doesn't mean that she didn't give her opinion occasionally. But Pearl will be greatly missed. Our hearts are sad, and she's created a legacy for herself, and we'll talk more about what that legacy might be in some form that we might participate in the future. So thank you, Chairman Barnhill.
Thank you, Mayor Moore. I was just thinking as you were making the comments, I've been looking for the Clyde gemstone for a long time. I haven't found it yet. The second item on the agenda is consideration approval of minutes of the October the 15th, 2020 Budget and Finance meeting. If we've had a chance to read those, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Proper motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Meeting passes 3-0. Next item on the agenda is election of chairman and vice president and vice chairman effective 2021. I'll open the floor up for any nominations.
I'd like to nominate Alderman Barnhill as chairman and Alderman Speedy as vice chairman.
Well, that's a proper motion. Do we have, Alderman Speedy, do we have a second on that? Alderman Speedy, is there silence on Alderman Speedy's end?
No, he just said second.
Oh, did he say second? Okay.
Second, third, and fourth.
All right. I think one of my earplugs is out of my ear. Proper motion in a second. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote on that. Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So the chairman will be Alderman Barnhill and the vice chair will be Alderman Speedy. Let's go to item 4, consideration of resolution number 2020-214, resolution adopting the revised purchasing policy for the city of Franklin procurement. not pertaining to new construction. Sponsors Christine Brock and Brian Wilcox. I'm sure one of those are prepared to speak to that. I'll open the floor up to those either. Let's do Christine first. Christine, you want to go to that?
We have Brian Wilcox, our purchasing manager, and
Okay.
he will briefly speak to this item.
All right.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Barnhill and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. The staff recommends that the purchasing policy for procurements not pertaining to new construction be revised in 3 ways. First, to for openings of sealed bids, proposals, or other submittals received pursuant to a formal procurement solicitation issued by the purchasing office and pursuant to public advertising, if valued at or greater than $25,000, to be conducted either in person only or virtually only by means of an online meeting application that includes both audio and video access via an internet link, as well as audio only access via telephone rather than in person. Thirdly, both in person and virtually. Secondly, to allow for the method of such openings to be determined on a case-by-case basis, provided that the method is addressed in writing in the relevant procurement solicitation, including any addenda that may be issued. And then thirdly, to allow for the ability for persons attending virtually to be viewed and or heard by other attendees whenever the opening is conducted either virtually only or both in person and virtually, to be for that access to be restricted by and granted only upon request approved by the purchasing office in order to reduce the opportunity for persons to use the online meeting application as a means for disrupting the opening. Resolution 2020-214 as proposed, including the revised policy as proposed, is attached to your meeting agenda packet. Also attached is a redlined version of the revised policy. You will note that the only change that we are recommending is on page 15, and it's in new section Z, and it covers all 3 of these points. So staff recommends that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approve 2020-214 resolution, and we would welcome the committee recommending that approval. I might say that we typically bring policy changes to you in the month of June, and this one seemed to us to warrant moving ahead with it as soon as possible under the current circumstances. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Any comments from the city administrator? Then I will entertain a motion to present this to the full board or a workshop, whichever one is appropriate. If I can get a motion on that, the motion would be to present this to the full board or to a appropriate workshop. Do I have a motion?
I move to present this proposal. Probably it could just go to the full board without the workshop, unless somebody thinks not.
Eric, do you want to?
Agenda.
Yeah, I think that would be fine to move on to
Okay.
consent agenda and go from there. If board members have questions, they can let us know.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Motion passes 3-0. Let's go to item 5, consideration of resolution number 2020-216, a resolution adopting a revised vendor protest procedure for the city of Franklin procurement not pertaining to new construction. Brian, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city's vendor protest procedure was last updated on September 24 of 2019 by means of Resolution 2019-80. Staff recommends the protest procedure be revised again at this time to more fully implement the protest provision included in Ordinance 2019-24 and Ordinance revising Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code entitled Purchasing to allow for the use of competitive sealed proposals as a procurement method. As proposed, Resolution 2020-216, including the revised protest procedure as proposed, is attached. Also attached is a red line version of the revised protest procedure. The red line version has marked all recommended changes to the text of the vendor protest procedure. In summary, what the revisions do is bring the procedure in compliance with state guidance, which indicates that protests having to do with proposals differentiated from bids and statements of qualifications. But for proposals specifically, those protests need to be considered by the governing body. And so that's why the protest procedure needed to be updated. We had done a temporary fix to say that the city's protest procedure, when we last looked at it, did not apply to requests for proposals. That was a short-term fix until we could get our arms around what the new procedure needed to be. Following that up by saying, here's how the protest procedure is adjusted to handle both not only bids and requests for statements of qualification, but also requests for proposals. Again, the differentiation is that the governing body will need to consider those protests. Staff recommends that the committee recommend approval of Resolution 2020-216. Thank you.
Any questions from either of the committee members? If not, let's do this one the same way. I'll entertain a motion to recommend this to the full board and that it be placed on the consent agenda for the upcoming board meeting. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval as you stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's do a roll call vote on that. Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. That item passes 3-0. Let's go to item 6. Consideration of procurement award to UMB Bank, NA of Kansas City, Missouri, in the total estimated annual amount of $17,032 for custody services for non-pension investments of the city for the finance department. Purchasing office procurement solicitation number 2020-027, $9,500 budgeted for the fiscal year 2021. And the Budget and Finance Committee, looks like we looked at that on 8/13 of 2020. Christine Brock or Mike Lowe, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Oh, go ahead.
I'll just very quick, just a quick word before Mike will give a description. This is, of course, something that this committee has seen before. We did a bid award and we ran into some hurdles in being able to have a completed contract with the previous bid award. And we have been working on, we've gone to the next in line in that process. And I would like Mike to just briefly describe what this request is for.
Good afternoon. The Finance Department requests a committee recommendation to the full board on this item. It is a procurement award to UMB Bank of Kansas City, Missouri for custody services for non-pension investments. If approved, the procurement would be for a period of 3 years to tentatively begin on April 1st, with 2 options to extend. And what this does is they would be the ones that would actually be the custodian for our non-pension investments, which includes investment transactions that go through the custodian. And we request, I guess, the committee recommendation to the full board on this item.
Any questions from any committee member?
Real quick, what is the total value of our non-pension investments?
The total value of the investments or the total value of the cost? The cost is $17,032.
Yeah, no, just
For our investments. We have about $130 million that are invested.
Any other questions, Alderman Speedy?
No
Alderman
further
Peterson,
questions.
do you have any? Then I'll entertain a motion to present this to the full board and award the procurement award to UMB Bank of Kansas City, Missouri in the amount of $17,032. Do I hear a motion?
I recommend that we recommend this to the board.
Proper motion, is there a second?
Second.
Proper motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes to that. Thank you. Let's go to item 7, comprehensive annual financial report for the city of Franklin. Sponsors Eric Stuckey, Christine Brock, and Mike Lowe. Eric, you're up.
I will just make brief comments, but this is a happy audit day. This is when we present the auditor's report to you each year. This committee, of course, serves not only as our budget and finance committee, but officially the audit committee for the city of Franklin. So we look forward to presenting that to you. We work very closely with our professional audit staff and our finance team and folks throughout the organization help provide the information so that there can be the kind of objective outside professional review that we should do. And we're proud to work with that and bring that forward to you today. And look forward to hearing the report along with you. So Christine or Mike, I don't know if there's anything you want to add. And I know Jennifer's our lead person, I think, to present this. So I'll hand it off to whoever should talk about it next.
I would like to make just a couple comments and introductions, Chairman Barnhill, if I may do
All right.
so.
Go ahead.
We, those of us on the finance and accounting team, this is sort of like our Christmas day. We anticipate the auditor's presentation to you all year long, and we don't take lightly the support of this committee and this board in managing our financial affairs for the city. This is really the culmination of your leadership all year long, a budget process, managing this committee, the reporting that we provide to you and the guidance, and certainly the day-to-day leadership of our city administrator. So we are, while we live it and breathe it every day, we are very thankful to all of you for your leadership and your guidance of it. I do want to make just a couple of comments. I've been working on audits for a long time now, and Mike Lowe and I have talked about this. This was given the time of year and timing of the way this year closed, June 30th of 2020. This was, in my experience, the most difficult experience to close a fiscal year. It was not. It was certainly not it was done with the accomplishments of a great many people, but it was a very difficult time to close a year out. Certainly, we appreciate all of the efforts that our auditors made and our departments made to get us closed by the end of August. But it was certainly a challenge, and our folks rose to that challenge. But it was very different for us, and certainly, as we anticipated revenue losses that we didn't know until July and August, we were constantly updating our city administrator of what we knew at the moment, and we kept our fingers crossed for what we would know all the way up until the very end of August as the books closed. So something that we all can tell junior accountants years from now what it was like to close a fiscal year during a pandemic. We've done that. I'm going to I hate to recognize just a few people, but I want to do this very quickly because they represent our financial team here at the city, and this team has just stepped up, and I've always said I'm proud to support them every day, but certainly at this time, I'm very proud to support them. We have our finance department. The accounting is led by our comptroller, Mike Lowe. His team does a superb job. I also want to recognize our purchasing team. The purchasing department's led by Brian Wilcox. His team plays a vital role in this audit. And I also want to recognize our revenue management department. They are part of the finance team. And tomorrow their leader retires, and Eric did a wonderful salute to Lawrence Sullivan. But tomorrow, this is his last public meeting here with the city. Lawrence Sullivan does retire from our ranks tomorrow, but he is a Franklin resident, and we expect to still see him in the community. And Jessica Davey is also here representing the Revenue Management Department. She's our new leader, and we're so thankful to have her as well. So I do appreciate these three departments and their staff for what they've done this year. I do want to introduce from Crossland our external auditors, and they're representing their teams today, Jennifer Mandernock and Curtis Payne. They have served in some different roles in the last few years. But both of them know our financials very closely, and certainly they are available when we're not in audit season, when we come up with situations that we need advisement or we want to run something by them. So we appreciate the working relationship that we have with our auditors, not just when they're here on site, but throughout the year. And then I'm going to just quickly, I want to do some introductions because I'm going to step out as Jennifer and Curtis step in. But number 8 on the agenda, the report of the auditor for the Cool Springs Conference Center. We have with us today representing the co-owner of the conference center with us from Williamson County Government, Nina Graham, who is my counterpart at Williamson County. She's watching this report today. And Nina and I work very closely together to discuss what's been going on with the conference center, especially this year, but we always consult together on what's going on with the operations of the conference center. And so we're glad to have Nina watching this auditor's presentation. We also have with us representing Chartwell Properties, the owner of the Cool Springs Marriott, and they operate our conference center on our behalf. We have the team of Matt Leahy, who is the general manager of the Cool Springs Marriott, and Andy Duncan. I believe I see Andy sitting back behind Matt. Andy's the longtime food and beverage director, has served many roles there, and then Kristen Lamb, who is their finance director. So they are here watching this presentation of the auditor, and we appreciate their role in the audit process for the Cool Springs Conference Center. So with that, I believe I'll invite Jennifer to join us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Montronac with Crossland. I'm the principal on your audit and the lead auditor. I also have Curtis Payne with me today. He's senior manager on your audit. We have 3 documents that we've provided that we're going to go over. We have a results of the audit booklet that Curtis will go over. We also have the comprehensive annual financial report for the city, and then the financial statements for the conference center. We just want to thank you for having us here today and for allowing us to serve as your auditors. We have a great relationship with the finance team and appreciate everyone. Despite the challenges that were felt by the city this year, the audit process went seamless. We felt the city had a successful year and a very successful audit, and we know that a lot of work went in behind the scenes to make it look like nothing had happened and that everything was smooth and seamless. So thank you for that. I'm going to turn it over to Curtis. I do want to ask you if you would like us to share the documents or if you have them in front of you to read.
I do not have the documents in front of me. What about the other 2 committee members? Do you have them in front of you?
I just have the the one that I looked over yesterday that was, sent to us. I don't have it in front. Should I go look and see if they're out in our mailboxes?
I've shared it. Can you guys see that in front of
Let's
you?
do them. That's fine.
Okay. If you can see it, Curtis will start.
All right. Are you going to scroll for me, Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, she already did my introduction, but I'm Curtis Payne and the Senior Audit Manager on both engagements. Jumping right in to the results book, just to point out that this results book will cover both the city and the conference center. If there are differences between the two, I will point that out during the presentation. Professional standards require that we provide you with information about our responsibilities under generally accepting auditing standards, as well as certain information related to the results of the audit. This booklet serves that purpose for us. The letter before this page basically is essentially stressing the importance of an open line of communication between us and the external auditor, or between us as your external auditors and you as the governing body of the organizations. And then starting on the next page, I will go over some of the significant auditing matters. If you all have any questions, just feel free to stop me. So the results of the audit, we expect to issue an unmodified opinion upon your approval of the financial statements that we present next. Again, our opinion is unmodified, which is a clean opinion, if you will, which is the best opinion. This basically states, based on our audit procedures, we believe the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. Also, I do want to point out that the city will meet the reporting deadlines of the federal and state governments, as well as the GFOA Certificate of Achievement Program. Regarding independence, we are independent with respect to the city and the conference center. We know of no conflicts that would impair our independence. In the next section, you will see our engagement personnel involved in the audit. I'll let you read through those. Onto the next page. Our responsibility under U.S. generally accepting auditing standards and governmental auditing standards is to plan and perform the audits to obtain reasonable assurance about whether your financial statements are fairly presented. We do consider internal control in order to help determine audit procedures. However, we do not provide assurance on those controls. We also perform tests around certain compliance requirements for the major programs selected this year in accordance with uniform guidance. And I'm pleased to report we had no findings during those testing. The next page regarding accounting estimates, all organizations have accounting estimates, and they're a very important part of the financial statements. There are certain balances in the financial statements that require management to make estimates. In your case, you can see the property taxes, the allowance for doubtful receivables, certain valuation of capital assets and valuation of donated capital assets. We do evaluate the key factors and assumptions used to develop these estimates, and we believe they are reasonable. On the next page, significant accounting policies. Your significant accounting policies are shown in Note 1 in the financial statements for the city, and then Note A of the financial statements for the conference center, which Jennifer will discuss those. These are policies by which you record and present your accounting transactions and statements. Management has the responsibility to select and use appropriate accounting policies. We have reviewed the policies and we believe they are in accordance with GAAP and are appropriate for your type of organizations. On the audit adjustments, so during the course of the audit, if we note that there's a balance that requires a material adjustments, then we would propose the adjustment to management that would be made to the financial statements. We noted no adjustments during the course of the city's audit, which speaks to the outstanding job that Mike and his team are doing. But we did have a couple adjustments for the conference center, which those will be in Appendix A of this booklet. I think that says C, but it should be A. Alternative accounting treatments, we noted we had no discussions with management regarding alternate accounting treatments. In the next section, consultations with independent accountants. There are certain situations that management may want to consult other accountants about auditing and accounting issues or matters. A second opinion, if you will, maybe on proper accounting treatment or how to record a particular transaction. It is okay that you do this, but we do ask that you let us know that so we can evaluate the treatment. But to our knowledge, there were no such consultations. On the next page, we are pleased to report that we had no disagreements with management on how to record a particular transaction or any other accounting matter. Issues discussed prior to the retention of independent auditors. We had no discussions outside the normal course of the audit, and our responses were not a condition to our selection as your auditors. We encountered no significant difficulties in performing or completing their audits. It went very smoothly to our standpoint. The accounting team, they did an excellent job at providing us with everything that we asked for on a timely manner so we could actually complete the audit in timely fashion. We did not identify any fraudulent or illegal acts during the course of the audit, which is obviously important for you to know. On the next page, regarding other information in the CAFR, Jennifer will go over the CAFR, but we read the city's CAFR and inquired as to the methods and measurement of presentation. We noted no material inconsistencies or material misstatements of fact in the other information sections. The next section is the area of audit emphasis. I will let you read through those, but these are the areas that it is a risk-based audit, and these are the areas that we primarily focus on during the audits. Further down, you will see the procedures, other procedures that we have performed. As I mentioned a little earlier, we did audit the city's compliance of its major federal programs, which is the federal transit cluster this year, and noted no material exceptions and have drafted our unmodified opinion on compliance with uniform guidance. On the next page, I wanted to summarize some recent accounting pronouncements. The city will implement several new GASB pronouncements in the upcoming years. We wanted you all to be familiar with these as we are set to implement these in future years. We will be here to assist you in the implementation of these pronouncements. I know there are several this year, so. On page 10, I just wanted to point out that we did also completed the audit of the financial statements of the conference center at Cool Springs, which is a joint venture between the city and Williamson County, and we have drafted our unmodified opinion for those as well. The rest of the document, which is located in Appendix A and Appendix B, these are the Cool Springs entries that I previously discussed. And in Appendix B are the drafts of the management representation letters, which we require management to provide us at the end of the audit. These representations state much of what I went over, that management believes the financial statements are fairly presented, management is not aware of any fraud, and that you all have provided us with everything that we need that is essential to perform the audit. We have included the drafts here so you can see that what management presented to us, and once management signs this, we'll be ready to issue. So those are your required communications. If you all have any questions, and if not, I'll hand the mic to Jennifer to go over the CAFR.
Any questions from either of the two committee members? Questions? If not, then let's go to the Cool Springs Conference Center.
Okay. I'm going to share the financial statements because can everyone see those?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start. This is the introduction section. And our opinion is right here. It's our unmodified opinion. And this is a comparative report, so it covers both 2020 and 2019. Next is the management discussion and analysis, which enhances the financial statement disclosures, talks about the results for the year. There's one thing I do want to point out in this. Just a few pages down. Right here, this disclosure in the MD&A, it talks about the uncertainty related to the ongoing pandemic. Obviously, the travel and tourism industry has been greatly affected by it, which affects the conference center and the events that they can put on. And management is just discussing that some of the uncertainty and the limitations that they have regarding the pandemic as they roll into fiscal year 2021. Moving on to the statement of net position, I'll go over some highlights here. Total cash increased approximately 157,000. That's primarily in the cash that's restricted for capital expenditure. About 5% of operating revenues are put into this account monthly, and it represents amounts that will be spent on capital expenditures in future years. Unrestricted cash, which is operating cash, decreased slightly, but remained pretty consistent with the previous year at 254,000. There is a receivable at year end due from the City of Franklin in Williamson County for 26,000. That relates to distributions receivable from both the city and the county related to operations for June of 2020. Capital assets, that's the largest asset on your balance sheet, 10.1 million. There was 181,000 in additions. In the 2020, they related to kitchen equipment replacement, fire equipment upgrades, some LED parking lots that were installed, and replacing some meeting room doors and some computer hardware that was replaced. And depreciation decreased the net balance by 466,000. In your liabilities, I want to point out deferred revenue. This is new in 2020. That relates to incentive payments that were received from the audiovisual company that the conference center uses. Since there were cancellation of events during the year, not all these amounts were available to be recognized during 2020, but as events occur in the upcoming year, they'll be able to recognize that into revenue. In your net position, 10.1 million is invested in capital assets. The restricted net position is the cash balance for capital expenditures. Then the unrestricted net position is 213,000. Moving on to your statement of revenue expenses and changes in net position. Operating revenue from food and beverage decreased quite a bit. This was directly related to the pandemic and the closure and cancellation of events that occurred from March through June at the end of the year. Overall revenue decreased 2.3 million, which was approximately 29% compared to 2019. If I could give you a little bit of comparison, through February of 2020, the conference center had gross revenue of 5.3 million compared to February of 2019 was 5.6 million. So it was trending pretty close to 2019 before the pandemic hit. So that decrease is directly related to the closures related to the pandemic. The operating expenses decreased 1.6 million or 23% of total operating expenses compared to the previous year. Several of those expense categories also decreased. They're driven by the revenue. So those decreases are in the banquet and catering expenses, the sales and marketing, and also in repairs and maintenance as those events occur. Some of the other expenses were not related to the revenue, particularly the management fees, and then of course depreciation. Operating loss was $124,000 compared to an operating income of $527,000 in 2019. There was some other income, and this fluctuates every year. It's really dependent on the number of cancellations that occur. The conference center was able to recover some cancellation fees from canceled event, and that totaled $212,000 compared to $30,000 in the previous year. Net distributions to local governments, that represents on a net basis, monthly when the conference center is has income before distributions that is distributed 50-50 between the city and the county. And on months where they have a loss, then the city and the county contributes to the conference center. So the net distributions were $267,000 compared to $609 in 2019. Decrease in net position was $179,000 compared to $51 in 2019. In the statement of cash flows and operating, this shows you where your cash was received and spent in your operations. There's some non-capital financing activities related to the distributions, as well as some capital expenditures during the year. That brought your net cash increase to $157,000. In the footnotes, I'll point out a couple of items. Your capital additions are right here. The renovations were related to a public restroom. They had some architectural fees. They did put that renovation on hold due to the pandemic. And then the depreciation is broken out there as well. Then on the next page, the contractual commitments, just so you're aware that those are in place. There's a franchise agreement with Marriott. There's also an operating agreement with the hotel operator to run the conference center, as well as a catering agreement with the hotel as well. And this is our auditor's report under government auditing standards. We also refer to this as our yellow book report. This is our report over the internal control. The conference center, we also did not have any internal control findings related to their internal controls as well. So overall, a clean report. Obviously, the conference center had a challenging year too, which has continued into fiscal year 2021. And I believe they will expect to experience that until the travel industry goes back to normal. So, any questions on that report?
Any questions from the committee members? Christine, any questions from the finance department?
No, sir.
What about our guest from Williamson County, Nina Graham? Is she available? Do you have any questions?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
All right. If not, we'll go on then with since we are finished 7 and 8. Let's go to monthly reports for December of 2020. Mike Lowe, you're up again.
Yeah, Mr.
Oh, may I?
Jennifer,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Chairman Barnhill?
Yes, I did see you, Christine. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I believe Jennifer with Crossland does have a report on the general, on the general city. Would you allow her to complete
Yes, I
that?
will. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Oops, sharing the wrong thing. Okay. Next, I will go over the CAFR for the city for 2020. And I'm going to go over some highlights for the year. Oops, that's not where I want to start. This is actually the letter transmittal that's included, page Roman numeral 4, or if you're following along the PDF, it's pages 8. At the bottom, it talks about some long-term planning and major initiatives that the city is working on. A lot of these refer to the capital improvement plan that was approved in fiscal year 2019. On this page, there's 9 projects that were prioritized during fiscal year 2020 and approved in the original budget that were worked on during the year, as well as 22 additional projects that were approved through the amended budget. These projects are currently either completed or underway during fiscal year 2020. There was approximately 41 million spent in projects during the year. In addition, the city is still working on the 3rd leg of the Match Hacker. Sorry, I couldn't say that right. Match Hatcher. Tennessee.
We've been working on it for a long time, believe me.
I also want to point out some relevant financial policies, some which were discussed earlier in this meeting. The city has really put an emphasis on the financial policies and updating those as needed. And right here in fiscal year 22, there's fiscal year 2020, there's some policies that are approved, to grant policy, and policies related to purchasing, vendor protest, alternative payments, and investment policies that were updated. Management commitment to updating these policies has had a positive effect on their internal controls and the audited financial statement as a result. We didn't have any audit adjustments, as Curtis had mentioned previously, and we don't have any deficiencies in internal controls. And that is a direct result of their commitment to the financial policies that have been approved. Just a great job by management. They're really focused and committed to those policies. And because of that, the financial statements are in great shape. The next page, this is the GFOA Certificate of Achievement. It's been awarded to the city for the 2019 financial statements. It's awarded for achievement for excellence in financial reporting. The finance department prepares this report, specifically Margaret Wilson, under the direction of Mike Lowe and Christine Brott. They do an excellent job preparing this CAFR, and as a result, they've been awarded this certificate, and this is the 29th year in a row that that's been awarded, which is unusual to have 29 years in a row. So great job to the city and to the financial team. So this is our part of the CAFR. We only have a few parts that Crossland prepares. This is the independent auditor's report. Here's that unmodified opinion here at the bottom. And we also prepare the reports on the single audit in the yellow book. which were unmodified as well. In the management discussion and analysis, this highlights and enhances the financial statement disclosures that are included within this report. And it has some highlights that I think are important that I'd like to point out. Of course, COVID-19 had a big impact on the city and the financial statements during the year. The impact was felt both operationally and within the financial results based on COVID-19 calls that the fire and police responded to, the building being closed to the public and staff working remotely. There was additional expenditures that the city experienced related to personal protection equipment and remote work equipment and social distancing. There's also revenues that declined due to the pandemic, such as the sales tax and the hotel motel taxes. However, development revenues, such as the road impact fees and the facilities taxes, did continue to remain strong during the pandemic, so that was positive. I do want to point out that related to those additional expenses for COVID-19, the city was awarded a grant from the state of Tennessee, totaling $1.8 million to reimburse them for those additional expenses that they had to incur. And that was approved by the state in July of 2020. So that revenue, just based on the approval, will be recognized in 2021. And the city has already applied for reimbursement, totaling $1.2 million. So that'll help offset some of the costs that were incurred in 2020. The general fund balance. For the general fund, management did an excellent job of keeping expenses down related to those decreased revenues. The increase in fund balance was $14,000. Essentially, they broke even for the year, which is excellent considering all those decrease in revenues. They are able to implement cost controls and keep those in line with those decreased revenues. Also, there are some big projects related to capital assets, the water reclamation project, and some other street improvements. The city also incurred additional debt related to the water reclamation project and the water and sewer funds. That debt increased $41 million. The debt in the governmental funds, however, decreased $14 million, primarily due to refundings of 2 bonds, as well as payments on the debt. Also included in the MD&A some budgetary highlights for the funds. Specifically for the general fund, revenues did come in $2.2 million less than what had been budgeted, primarily related to the local sales tax collections between March and June. I'll move on to the statement of net position next. On the first page is assets and deferred outflows or resources. Net position overall increased approximately $42 million. A lot of that increase is in the capital assets. Those increased $70.8 million. That was offset by an increase in your long-term liabilities that I just mentioned, and AP, which there's some AP related to the water and sewer project that I had mentioned. Those overall increase in net position, primarily due to those projects, as well as some capital grants and contributions totaling $35 million that get capitalized. Also, in your general revenues, even though sales tax decreased, there was some revenues that increased, property taxes, as well as the impact fees and investment revenue. So that total 42 million is right here. Change in that position. In the funds, want to point out the road impact fee fund is a major fund in 2020. In prior years, it was a non-major fund, so it would have been reported in the other governmental column. There's been quite a bit of growth in that fund, so that met the requirements for a major fund and is being reported as such in the fund financial statements. In the changes in the fund balances is here. Net changes in fund balances, you'll see that 14,000 in the general fund. Overall, there was a net decrease of 1.5 million. That decrease is primarily attributed to the impact of COVID-19 and the results of those decreased revenues and additional expenditures, as well as use of bond proceeds. In the footnotes, there's a few I'm going to point out. Here's the footnote on the long-term liabilities. Below that, there's some descriptions of some of the bond activity that occurred during the year. There's some issuance of long-term debt of the state revolving loan funds. That was for water and sewer, as well as the refunding of long-term debt. There are 2 general obligation bonds that were refunded during the year. Related to those bonds was a swap. The city has 2 swaps. One of the swaps was $4 million, and that was terminated early with that refunding. And there's more discussion of the swap on this page. There's one swap that remains as of June 30th, 2020 for $1,000, and that was paid off in July of 2020. So in next year's financial statements, the swaps will no longer be there. We have an additional footnote this year. It's a risk and uncertainties footnote. We're disclosing an uncertainty related to the ongoing pandemic. What this footnote is saying is that at this point, this city cannot estimate the length or gravity of what the impact could be from the pandemic and how it may affect the financial results in 2021. We're hoping we don't have to repeat that footnote next year. And related to that, there is some subsequent events that occurred after the report date. 3 main items. The first one being in July, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approved a temporary suspension of penalties related to delinquent water, reclaimed water, and so on. And that suspension occurred through September 30th. Another item, this is related to that grant from the state that I mentioned to reimburse for the COVID-19 funds. 1.8 million has been approved, and the city has applied for 1.2 as of the report date. The third item that we included here is the budget for 2021 was amended subsequent to year end as more information was known about the financial results for the fiscal year 2021. There was some amendments, and there's a description of what some of those amendments were. Then I have one final item. This summarizes our findings and question costs from Government Auditing Standard report and our Uniform Guidance report. And what this is saying is that we had no findings. And then here we identified our major program, the Federal Transit Cluster. So to summarize, the city had a very good year, despite the fact that there was a lot of challenges. And I think that this report reflects that. So just want to ask if you have any questions or anything else you'd like me to discuss.
Any questions from the committee members? Christine, you have anything to add to that or any questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, did we just acknowledge receipt of this? Is this the way?
I think that's what we've done in the past. Eric, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and we'll place it on the December 8th meeting for acceptance or acknowledgement by the board as a whole, just to record it.
So we're ready for monthly reports. Jennifer and Curtis, thank you for that report and those audit findings. We appreciate your effort and appreciate your very, very kind compliments towards the city and the city financial staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 9, monthly report for December of 2020. Mike, you're up.
Mr. Chairman, to begin this item, I would actually like to make an announcement. I would like to introduce the city's new financial manager, Margaret Wilson. It is a promotion. She formerly was an analyst in our office. And as Crossland said, she has already been helping us with the annual report and the monthly reports. And if it is okay, I would actually like to let Margaret kind of run through a few of the points from the monthly reports.
I think that would be fine, Mike. Margaret, are you ready?
I am. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for this time. I just wanted to bring 3 points from the monthly reports. The first is the local sales tax. We are up by 2.6% from last year this same month. So sales tax is holding its own, which is nice to see. Second is building permits and road impact fees. They are down compared to last year, but of course, this is all dependent on developers and what permits are pulled each month. We would like to make one correction notice on the gasoline tax. The September actual number should have been $236,656. We found that correction just yesterday. So that just makes it 0.5% higher than this month last year, and we will make sure that that is corrected on future monthly reports. And also, Ms. Peterson, if you would like a copy of the CAFR draft, just let me know and I will bring one down to you before you leave.
Thank you, Margaret. Is that what we have, Mike, for the monthly reports?
It is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Then let's go to the proposed 2021 calendar for Budget and Finance Committee meetings. Christine, do you want to cover those dates?
I
times?
did. Thank you, Chairman Barhill. I did attach to the agenda for this meeting a proposal of the calendar year 2021 dates for this committee. And in recent years, staff has asked you to consider making at least one change. That sometimes, I think last year we asked you to make 2 changes because of some training that we received from the state of Tennessee. And this year, we're not asking you for any modifications to that schedule. we are not having the spring training and not in the same format as we've had in the past. And the fall training is currently scheduled, but it actually does not conflict with this committee. So the calendar that we drafted does take a July break, the way you have chosen to do in the past. And it also combines November and December, like you are doing today, into one meeting at the start of December. So the other comment is that it does have the earlier start time during the budget season. If that is still something that this committee wishes to do, has the 1 p.m. start time for February through May, and then the rest of the year, the 2 p.m. start time.
Committee members, I'm going to ask you, you've heard the agendas and the times. The 1 o'clock meetings, are they satisfactory with you as we hear presentation from the various committees on their budget items? Is it okay for you to start at 1 p.m.?
Yes, and I would prefer it. If we need to start at noon to get out at a reasonable time, I'm okay with that too.
And I second that. Alderman Peterson, what about you?
Fine.
1 o'clock okay with you? All right.
Fine.
1 o'clock is agreed to by the committee members. Anything else from the committee? City Administrator, do you have anything to add to the committee?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. And I see the last item on the agenda in broad letters here. It says other business, and that is to adjourn. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Proper motion second, and there is a proper second. Let's do a roll call vote. Alderman Peterson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Speedy, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Motion to adjourn passes 3-0. We are adjourned. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you this coming Tuesday it is, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you.